You're going live in like 3 seconds.
Yeah, that's fine. Welcome to the Maggot Show. The Maggot is here and is speaking. So I'm just checking the recording levels. They seem okay. So I found out that Call Burner doesn't automatically record Skype calls, so I've got to like run it all backward to front or something. Like run Call Burner, then run Skype. So I was just like almost didn't start on time. Oh no, it's like 30 seconds out. So won't get all the amazing music on this recording if it does record. Dun, 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 dun. Oh great, on the first page to look at it's like being deleted or something. It's like I was trying to think, it's like what one to start with. Where is it? Okay, I'll start with this one. US authorities seize BP's blowout preventer. There was a touch of legal drama in the Gulf of Mexico oil disaster yesterday. Yeah, so that's the second one. The 350-ton, well, there might be more, but second big one anyway. 350-ton, 50 feet high blowout preventer that should have prevented the explosion in the BP oil well was effectively placed under arrest by US authorities. Yes, I think they must have suspected it of being a terrorist. You know, they might have had Al Qaeda's markings on it or something, or had a sort of thoughts against Obama. Admiral Thad Allen, yes, as Admiral the Alien, the retired Coast Guard commander in overall charge of the operation, declared that the preventer will be taken into custody and become part of the evidence material that's been required by the Joint Investigative Team. His comments reflected another shift in the direction of a tragedy that has claimed 11 lives, cost BP Chief Executive Tony Hayward his job and one of his best golfing clubs, BP, and its shareholders at least $50 billion, £32.3 billion, diminishing the credibility of President Obama. I'll see if I could do the next hour. Yeah, I don't know. I'll see. I'll try. Disrupted fishing and tourism and threatened the environment around the Gulf states. Yeah, I mean the Gulf is like the abyss and all this sort of stuff, and it's all connected with the abyss and sort of like Crowleyan magic and all that rubbish. So I had long enough to figure it out. The oil is like the invisible thing, and also healing oil as well. It's connected with Jesus Christ, the second coming, and the age of Aquarius. Healing fluids. The preventer, now under close guard and inspection, has almost assumed a criminal dimension. Oh, that's a coincidence, yeah, because that is it. The dimensions all intersecting and shifting together is part of the sort of like a what do they call it? It's an Illuminatus or something. Robert Anton Wilson, part of the immunization of the Eschaton. So yeah, and also Lovecraft wrote about that sort of stuff with Cthulhu and all the groovy old ones, whatever, coming out of the ground. You know, Cthulhu actually lives at the bottom of the ocean. He's supposed to come out of the ground, and basically he was. My perspective of him was he's a corruption of Pan, or maybe he is Pan, but you know, because Lovecraft wrote about things at corruptions of other things, so he did write about like the Asians had turbans on, the Muslims had turbans on in his books because they were to cover up horns. They had horns on top of their head, so they had to wear turbans, which is probably true. It will form, to continue anyway, it will form a crucial part of the evidence the US Justice Department is examining to see whether BP or Transocean, there you go, Transylvania, Trans and all that, owners of the stricken Deepwater Horizon drilling rig have broken any rules that could result in a successful prosecution. Law enforcement officers were on hand to take charge as soon as the preventer broke surface 5,000 feet above the seabed. Deep Horizon is probably Deepwater Horizon or whatever it is. Somebody's cooked onions, you see, so I've got like a bit of onion eye. Deepwater Horizon could refer to the underground sun, the second sun. a theory the Nazis picked up on and popularised a bit, and it's to do with the Hollow Earth, Ultima Thule Society. Probably picked up on it as well. And Thule is quite interesting as well, because Thule became Kool-Aid as a joke. Yeah, hilarious joke on you people. So the Ultima Thule Society was like a pagan, not so secret society, but the Nazis really want people to get into it because they wanted to drag in all the pagans and stuff, because they wanted sort of like incorporate with Catholicism or something. So yeah, to get the Pope's favour and stuff, though, they didn't have much problem with the Nazis anyway, because he was already a lot of his ministers were already seen shaking hands with Nazi officers anyway. Anyhow, BP is already facing more than 300 private civil lawsuits resulting from the April 20th explosion, an oil spill. Whose birthday was that? April the 20th. It was somebody's birthday or something. It was some significant event anyway. An oil spill, but Hitler's birthday. April the 20th was Hitler's birthday. And oil spill, but the prospect of a Justice Department prosecution, whether civil or criminal, is likely to be the most damaging, if not costly. Got a little in the background. I don't know if it'll come across on the recording.
I know that's me.
Oh, okay. You eating crisps?
Sorry. No, because my mic is not working properly.
Isn't it? Oh no.
So I'm gonna not. No, I ripped the cord off yesterday. Anyway, I'm gonna try to get off it because I don't want to mess up your recording.
Oh, it's not affecting it too badly. I know what it is now, so I don't mind so much. I just got the you see, I've got these volume levels on this side, other side, and it's okay as long as those levels are okay. It just means it's picking up, but it doesn't really matter anyway. Even if the sort of like transmission is rubbish, then I'll still pick it up on the recording. And I was just wondering what it was, like lines being tapped or something. But it is a bit. I mean, can you turn the mic off unless you're going to talk? That would cut out any of the.
I can't turn it off, and then
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn the mic off and then chat with you for the chat line. I don't want to mess everything up. So unless I got really something really important to say.
Yeah, it is cracking up really badly, to be fair. Yeah.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's a bit. Okay, but yeah, BP is also facing more than 300 private civil lawsuits resulting from the April 20th explosion and oil spill, but the prospect for Justice Department prosecution, whether civil or criminal, is likely to be the most damaging, if not costly. The information provided from an exhaustive examination will play a vital part in any case mounted against BP. Experts want to know whether the failure was down to the equipment or human error. BP has completed its own investigation into the accident, and report produced by Mark Bly, Head of Group Safety and Operations, is due to be published shortly. The old preventer was successfully replaced by BP with a new one, leading Admiral Allen to declare that the damaged well drill by the rig does not constitute a threat to the Gulf of Mexico at this point. I've got in the Guardian, for US Muslims, a 9/11 anniversary like no other. They love celebrating it. Ramadan ding dong. Oh yeah. AP religion writer, New York AP, American Muslims are boosting security at mosques, seeking help from leaders of other faiths, and airing ads underscoring their loyalty to the United States, all ahead of a 9/11 anniversary they fear could bring more trouble for their communities. Their goal is not only to protect Muslims, but also to prevent them from retaliating if provoked. Doesn't really sound like it's protecting or helping anyone then. They're going to chop their hands off or something, tie their arms behind their backs. One September 11 protest in New York against the proposed mosque near Ground Zero is expected to feature Geert Wilders, the aggressive anti-Islam Dutch bookmaker. The same day in Gainesville, Fla, I'm not sure what FLA is short for. No idea. The Dove World Outreach Centre plans to burn copies of the Quran. Hurrah! Hurrah! We can expect crazy people out there will do things. but we don't want to create a hysteria among Muslims said victims. Oh, they put the end of the quote there and wrong bit. It said Victor Begg of the Council of Islamic Organizations of Michigan. Americans in general, there's a broad pluralism. It's just that there's a lot of misinformation out there that has created confusion amongst the infidel. On Tuesday, the Islamic Society of North America will hold a summit of Christian, Muslim and Jewish leaders in Washington to address the growing tide of fear and intolerance in the furor over the planned New York mosque. Islamic centers in many cities are intensifying surveillance and keeping closer contact with law enforcement. According to adding to Muslim concern is a fluke of the lunar calendar. Yes, when the moon farts. Eid al-Fitr, a joyous holiday marking the end of Ramadan Ding Dong, will fall around September 11th this year. Muslim leaders fear festivities could be misinterpreted as celebrating the 2001 terror strikes. We're telling everyone to keep their eyes open and report anything suspicious to authorities and call us, says Ramsey Cleek of the Tampa Fla. Oh, it's Fla. Oh, it's Florida. It's not Florida. I know Tampa's in Florida, so I don't get it. Oh well. This could just be a typo, as repeated. Chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations. Other efforts around 9/11 aim to fight bigotry. Yes, they're going to beat them over the head with bits of collapsed building. Muslims will clean parks, feed the homeless, and give toys to sick children as part of Muslim Serve. Muslim Serve. Yes, you are a slave to Allah. That's one of their little mottos, slogans. Man is a slave to Allah.
I bet all the toys will come. I bet all the toys will come from China.
Yeah.
And they're all
they all break down. Yeah.
Anyway, I get off again.
Yeah.
I get crackling again.
Oh, it's not so bad at the moment. Yeah, it's just a little sort of buzzing like an insect in the background. But I can still you're still picking up reasonably well. I can still hear you pretty much. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they'll be tainted with arsenic. Don't touch those toys. The Muslim fanaticides. A national campaign to demonstrate Islamic commitment to serving humanity. They say no, they're slaves to Allah. I don't get it. What's humanity got to do with it? Never mind. Allah is obviously. I got bored of saying those things. They weren't doing me too much favour. Yes, my gay lovers gave me so much grief about it. And you thought I was going to say my wife was going to. No, I wasn't. Separately, groups are distributing ads to combat persistent suspicions about Islam. One spot called My Faith, My Voice features American Muslims saying, I don't want to take over this country. Yeah, because it's a shithole. September 11th anniversaries have always been challenging for US Muslims, who have been under scrutiny since the attacks. This year, the commemoration follows a stunning summer in which opposition to a planned Islamic community centre near the World Trade Center site escalated into a national uproar over Islam, extremism and religious freedom. It's an oxymoron, isn't it, religious freedom? It's just like the very word religion just means to like tie in binds, to be disciplined. So yeah, it's religious liberty you can have, I think. Well, not religious freedom. That's like total freedom would be total anarchy or something. Islamic centers as far away as Tennessee and California face protests and vandalism. In western New York, police said a group of teenagers recently yelled obscenities, set off a car alarm and fired a shotgun during 2 nights of drive-by harassment at a small-town mosque near Lake Ontario. Usami Shami, board chairman for the Islamic Community Center of Phoenix, said a new mosque the congregation has been building for years drew little attention until recently, when some resistance emerged in the neighborhood and from some in city government. Recently, vandals broke into the new building, spilled paint on the floor, and broke expensive windows. Shami believes the Ground Zero dispute is partly to blame for the trouble, along with passions unleashed by Arizona's strict new law that would require police to question people about their immigration status if there is reason to suspect they are in the country illegally. All of these issues came at the same time, Shami said. When things like that happen, I think they bring out the worst in some people. Infidels. In some infidels. On September 11th in Chicago, Zinat Rahman, a 34-year-old native of the city, will visit a local nursing home with Muslim and non-Muslim friends to spend time with residents and help serve a meal. This is when people are going to look at the community, and when they do, what are they going to see? Said Rahman, a policy director for the Interfaith Youth Corps, which promotes pluralism. Sometimes saying Islam means peace feels a little defensive and apologetic, whereas service is really core to our faith. Unity Productions Foundation, a Washington area group that specializes in films about Islam and Muslim Americans, will hold an interfaith talk on September 11th at the Washington Jewish Community Center. I mean, wouldn't they been saying that all along? You know, Muslims serve and all this sort of stuff. It's like, you know, there's some, like, Allah's like changed his mind. He's changed his policy. He like got re-elected. They had an election or something up in Allah land, you know, wherever he comes from, and he got replaced. So he's become more moderate, like Allah. It's quite strange. Yeah, I mean, if it was true, then they would have been saying it all the time. But it was no like death to America, death to the infidel. And it's like, this is the same Allah, you know, he speaks through Muhammad, and yet all these rabbis or whatever interpret his words again, and it's the same person. You know, it's like, so it's sort of like really political, religious posturing, I suppose. Speakers include Monen Salam, the subject of a Unity Productions film titled On a Wing and a Prayer, An American Muslim Learns to Fly.
Sorry.
I know. Fly into a building. Unity recently launched GroundZeroDialogue.org, where visitors can view films and use them for community discussion about Islam in the US. Salam, 38, of Bellingham, Walsh, usually spends the Eid weekend with his wife and 3 young children, but said he persuaded his wife he had to participate in the event. I have to leave them and go across the country to answer questions about Islam. Way smells. Said Salam, a portfolio manager who was 4 years old when his family left Pakistan for the US. It's unfortunate. It's the time that we live in. Floating Chernobyls hit the high seas in the Telegraph. The UK one. Obviously I don't know if it's anywhere else. Floating Chernobyls in waiting are coming to a sea near you after a major international agreement was signed last week, according to critics nuclear power. China and Russia agreed to expand cooperation over nuclear power, specifically on uranium exploration and safer power plants, but also on floating nuclear reactors. I didn't know they built actual floating nuclear reactors. I thought he was being a bit like metaphorical or something, like nuclear submarines or something. But never mind. It's a case of Homer Simpson meets the Titanic, says Ben Iliff, a senior climate campaigner at Greenpeace. The idea is just mind-boggling. Unsurprisingly, he is appalled by the idea. Russia has been planning floating reactors for quite some time, but reached a recent milestone when the hull of the academic Lomonosov was launched into the Baltic Sea. It does look like academic as well. Quite strange. The reactor is not complete, but the barge that will house the plant was launched on June 30th at the Baltijsky shipyard in St. Petersburg, and China has been watching developments very closely indeed. Sergei Kiriyenko, head of Russia's nuclear agency, Rosatom, said the plant would be absolutely safe and predicted big interest from foreign customers, especially in developing nations. Yeah. Floating nuclear bombs. Can't get enough of them. Floating reactors can be used in inaccessible places where there is no electricity grid, including exploring for oil. Oh, yes, more oil. We need more oil. In the Arctic or Antarctic. The current aim of the project is to create a reference plan to become an innovative product for the international market, Rosatom said, adding a desalination capability to an energy system. promises an additional improvement in the project's economics when deployed in localities with scarce freshwater supplies, the nuclear body added. Yeah, you use nuclear reactors to get rid of the salt in your water. This statement is clearly aimed at Middle Eastern nations that are flush with petrodollars. Yes, it's the water that makes you glow in the dark. As well as providing power in remote locations without having to build a fast grid system, nuclear energy can be used in the energy-intensive desalination of water. I mean, Mr. Burns would be proud of this scheme, from The Simpsons. The population explosion that is widely expected in the coming decades is largely going to happen in developing countries. Excellent. The Middle East has a structural shortage of water, one of the most vital communities, and floating reactors could provide an answer to this problem. The water issue is intrinsically linked to current concerns about a looming food crisis, as well as providing portable water. It's got potable, never mind. The Middle East has been a net importer of food since the 1970s, so a ready supply of fresh water would be strategically important. And nuclear desalination has been proved to work in areas as far apart as California and Kazakhstan. But environmentalists remain far from convinced of the benefits. There is an inherent risk with any nuclear plant, but you multiply the risk significantly by towing the plants to the Middle East or to remote areas, Mr. Eilif argues. Then there's the intractable problem of nuclear waste in an age of heightened security. Yes, it's incredibly rash. Greenpeace understands that there will be issues in providing fresh water to a growing population in the future, but believes that there are other ways of generating electricity. Mr. Eilif also pointed out that a major proposed use of the Russian reactor is to help explore for oil in remote areas. We are using risky reactors to continue our dependency on oil, he said. The floating reactor should be ready late in 2012, and it will have the capacity to produce 80 megawatts of electricity. Mr. Kirienko said at least 6 potential sites for such plants had already been chosen in northern Russia. However, the history of Soviet-era nuclear accidents has prompted some critics to refer to the reactors as floating Chernobyls in waiting, after a meltdown at the plant in Ukraine in 1986. The accident is the only example of a level 7 event on the International Nuclear Event Scale, the maximum level that can be reached. The scale was introduced by the International Atomic Energy Agency in 1990. It is a logarithmic scale similar to the Richter scale for earthquakes. The fire at wind scale, now Sellafield, in the 1950s would have been classified as a level 5 event. China is making a big push for nuclear power, as is testing different nuclear technologies from France, Canada, Russia, and the US. According to the World Nuclear Association's reactor database, China had 12 operating reactors on August 1st this year, with 24 under construction. A total of 33 reactors are going through the planning stage, with a further 120 facilities proposed. The new accord between Russia and China means that projects such as the academic Lomonosov will be accelerated as the world's thirst for energy continues. A new threat has emerged on the high seas. Not pirates. Despite the benefits, concern remains that these new plants will be a magnet for pirates or terrorists. There you go. Blood minerals, gadgets linked to Congo War. This looks like I'm assuming it's linked. It's right underneath it. Forget Naomi Campbell and blood diamonds. The next big crackdown will be on blood minerals, such as tantalum, cobalt and tungsten. An amendment in the new US financial reform bill, the Dodd-Frank Act, will require US listed companies to disclose whether their products contain conflict minerals from the war in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The minerals are used in mobile phones, laptops and digital cameras, leading to them being called genocide phones. Under the new law, any US listed group using these minerals will be required to state each year whether they can be traced back to the troubled African country. Corn futures. The rally in corn prices looks likely to continue for the next month, according to alternative investment specialist Cattle Stone Management. Prices have rallied in tandem after the Russian wheat crisis rocked soft commodity markets, but Castlestone reckons that this is only one part of the reason for the latest surge. It says that higher ethanol prices had encouraged refiners to snap up supplies, while exports to China remain strong. Corn futures have rallied by 35% since their June 29th low. Just checking chat room stuff. Okay. Yeah. Found. So I went to one page and it had loads of links, but I didn't open all the links, you see, and I kind of lost the page in a maze of tabs. Yes. Okay, so there's an update on the Gareth Williams story. You know, Gareth Williams was the GCHQ stroke MI6 person who got murdered allegedly in a flat in Pimlico. I think it was in London. And yeah, it's an ongoing story. Police appeal over couple seen near spy Gareth Williams' flat. That's the name of this person. Who was murdered? Possibly. Police investigating the death of British codebreaker, Gareth Williams, today appealed for help to trace two people seen near his government flat. Oh, he owned it, did he? Scotland Yard want to identify a man and a woman, both of a Mediterranean appearance and aged between 20 and 30, who were let into the communal entrance of Mr. Williams' flat in Pimlico, central London, late one evening in June or July. His decomposing naked body was found padlocked shut in a holdall in a bath in the top floor flat by officers who broke in on August 23rd after Mr. Williams failed to appear at work for several days. Today, officers released CCTV footage of him as they appealed for the public's help. It showed the 30-year-old entering Holland Park Underground Station at about 3 p.m. on Saturday, August 14th. Police said post-mortem examinations found no obvious cause of death, and initial indications from toxicology's tests showed no trace of any alcohol or routine or recreational drugs. Testing for any other substance is ongoing. A force spokesman. It's the police force. They sometimes call themselves the Force now. I think they've even got a program on TV called The Force, which is like a PR program for the police force. You want to learn the Force? Join the Force. You know, join it. I don't think so. I don't think, you know. I'd be impressed if I did see the policemen actually using the Force and throwing people against the walls just by raising their arms. And that's what the tasers do. But, you know, if you're drunk enough, I suppose you might think that you're being electrocuted by somebody using the Force. A spokesman added that there was no sign of any forced entry to his flat in Alderney Street, no signs of a disturbance inside, and no property was believed to be missing. There is no suggestion the items within the flat were specifically posed, he said. Mr. Williams was dazed for completing a one-year secondment to the headquarters of the Secret Intelligence Service MI6 in Vauxhall, London. Yes, Secret Intelligence Service, that's why we all know about it now. In his secret mission, who got publicly exposed and killed. So I still don't think that was supposed to come out. I think they just wanted to keep it as the GCHQ person got murdered. I don't think they ever wanted it to come out that he worked for seconded at MI6. Police said Mr. Williams had returned from a planned holiday in the United States on Wednesday, August 11th, and went shopping on a number of occasions in the West End and Knightsbridge areas. Yeah. On Sunday, August 15th, he went to a cash machine and then to Harrods before CCTV images show him in Hans Crescent, heading towards Sloane Street near the Dolce & Gabbana store at about 2:30 p.m. Of course, if it was like a Masonic murder, you see, it could have been, if he had to go to these places at specific times, it could even be part of his assignment that he was supposed to do all this stuff. So, yeah. It's like might sound trivial at first, it might be important, sort of thing. It's like interesting names anyway, usually. In London you've got lots of dodgy names. Police said Mr. Williams, who was 5 feet 7 inches and of muscular build with short hair, was wearing a red t-shirt, beige trousers and white trainers. Detective Chief Inspector Jacqueline Sabir, who is leading the inquiry for the Force's Homicide and Serious Crime Command, said, "I would appeal to anyone who may have seen or had contact with Gareth in the period between 11th and 33rd of August to come forward and speak with us. This remains a complex, unexplained death inquiry." In a statement shortly after his body was found, Mr. Williams' family hit out at rumours that suggested the GCHQ codes expert was involved in risky sexual practices, saying they had been very distressing. Yes, I'm sure the hamsters were very distressed as well. In tribute to him, they said, Gareth was a generous, loving son, brother and friend, and he was a very private person. He was a great athlete and loved cycling and music. His loss devastated us, and we would ask anyone with information to come forward and assist the police inquiry. Yeah, I blame the onions. Police urged anyone with information to contact the incident room or Crime Stoppers anonymously. So you go. So you can all claim to be his lover. Okay, the other one. Tony Blair, Tony Blair, Tony Blair, Tony Blair, Tony Blair. He's everybody's hero. He cancels book signing amid protest theft. Tony Blair today cancelled a high-profile signing session of his new memoir in central London amid concerns over planned protests. The former Prime Minister was due to attend the flagship Waterstones store in Piccadilly on Wednesday, where anti-war campaigners had promised a hostile reception. Look, his lights out. But he said he did not want to subject the public to the inevitable hassle protests would cause, or use up police resources keeping order at the event. Eggs and shoes were held by protesters, and one attempted to make his citizens arrest when Mr. Blair signed copies of the book A Journey in Dublin. Earlier, Mr. Blair said he was considering scrapping Wednesday's planned follow-up amid suggestions other groups, including the British National Party, could also turn up. Announcing the decision in a statement today, Mr. Blair said he would provide signed copies for the store for those who had planned to attend. However, I have decided not to go ahead with the signing, as I don't want the public to be inconvenienced by the inevitable hassle caused by protesters. I know the Metropolitan Police would, as ever, have done a superb job in managing any disruption, but I do not wish to impose an extra strain on police resources simply for a book signing. I'm really sorry for those, as ever the majority who would have come to have their books signed by me in person. I hope they understand. So yeah, he's like doesn't unwrite his book. Okay, and another one. It's to do with the Pope. I'm waiting for it. Pope chooses crap song as soundtrack for his UK visit. Yes. In the Independent, he is a liturgical traditionalist who is known to favour the Latin Mass with all its ancient trimmings. Ooh, it's a Guess Who. It starts with a Guess Who, doesn't it? Ooh, who could it be? But when it comes to finding a song that would appeal to young worshippers, the Pope has opted for crap. The committee overseeing Pope Benedict's itinerary in Britain next week announced today that they have chosen a hip-hop track to be the official youth anthem for his 3-day visit. Heart's Cry by Catholic trio Uberfuse is a world away from the type of soaring hymnals usually associated with Catholic services. Very strange choice of music to choose crap music. You know, it's expected to be some sort of like farty-assed, like Italian operatic singing or something, and all choirs and stuff, and angels going Wah! All that sort of stuff. But no. The band, who all live in London, sent their track to Father Andrew Headon, a member of the Papal Visit Organising Committee, which chose the song to represent young worshippers. It will almost certainly be played to the faithful during the Pope's Bridge Bear in Hyde Park, an event which is specifically aimed at appealing to younger Catholics. Yes, appealing to non-Catholics. Appealing to younger Catholics and appalling to non-Catholics. Overfuse's track bears a passing resemblance to Black Eyed Peas' breakthrough single Where Is My Crack, and opened with extracts of a speech by Pope Benedict complaining that good will never reign in the hearts of men again. Sherry Anderson, the trio's 24-year-old lead singer. Should I bother correcting that? It's only the Pope told the Independent that her band wants to move away from the stereotype that modern Christian bands only played soft rock. We are hoping to be more relevant and reach out to a younger generation, she said. We wanted...
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
Can you do that voice in a minute when you look on the chat? because you got a news request.
Oh, okay. That was sort of
And have a
London.
look on the chat.
Yeah, I'll have a go, but I can't sure if I'll even be able to remember it. I just totally improvised it. Oh no, you must
No,
be
no, but
Shell.
have.
Okay, I'll just do.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I could do it, I think. I'm up for it, you know what I mean? We wanted to break the stereotypes surrounding religious crap music and play music that would instantly appeal to young people today.
The band is made up of Miss Anderson on vocals, 33-year-old crapper Hal St. John. Hal St. John? How dare you! And DJ Cornel Sorian. Although evangelical, Protestant and Baptist congregations have long embraced modern music as a way of reaching out to younger audiences, the Catholic Church has been far less willing to branch away from its traditional musical roots. Yeah, it wasn't until the mid-1960s, during the Second Vatican Council, that the Church finally allowed Mass to be said in a language other than Latin, allowing millions of Catholics worldwide to finally understand what was being said. I think that was part of the fun, is that nobody understood what they were talking about. Reformers have long argued that embracing modern music is a vital way of adapting to younger audiences, but traditionalists are often bitterly opposed to such moves. Mr. Sorian, who was born in Romania and works as a music producer in London, said, "We hope people will break out on the dance floor to the sound of Il Papa gently proclaiming, with characteristic German accentuation, that hatred will never reign in the hearts of men again." Well, yeah, I got it right that time, damn it. And that we should courageously give voice to that cry. So yeah, it'd be better to say hopefully they'll dub over and put "love will never reign in the hearts of men again," especially with the German voice and "Sieg! Sieg!" in the background. The cry of love treading with dove's footsteps, oh yeah, in the mysterious and inscrutable depths of our hearts. Okay. What was it? The fight against mine could be a bloody affair? Is that the one you wanted? Oh, okay.
Anything.
Oh. Sam's mum. His name's Michelle. You could do it at the same time. I totally forget how it goes
I hope
now.
I'm not crackling too much.
No, it's alright. It's alright for a
Okay.
moment. Happy
Okay.
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Not that fast.
Okay.
That's mother. And we would like to sing to you happy birthday. Now, off you go.
Okay.
Happy
Birthday
birthday to you. Happy birthday
to you.
Happy birthday, Michelle.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to
Yeah. It's the personal touch. Best birthday greeting ever. Not.
That was funny.
Hello to the show.
Have to laugh.
I think people clearing their ears out now.
Oh, well done. Carry on.
Yeah. Might be interesting. This might. No, yeah, it's Condoleezza Rice. Okay. Well, it might be this load of rubbish. Stay out of Washington. Rice told Bush after 9/11. Former Secretary of State reveals exchange with President who wanted to be at helm of ship despite security risks. No, it's just an example of a Bush Junior, I suppose. Doesn't look much like Junior, but Bush Junior being an idiot or something. You know, on the surface. Condoleezza Rice ordered George Bush not to return to Washington ever after the 9/11 attacks before hanging up the phone. I made an interesting article now. The former National Security Advisor has revealed in a documentary interview. Of course, she never said ever. You know, she just I'll just carry on reading it. You can guess it. In heated exchange, Rice argued with the US president in Florida not to return to the White House ever, because it was a potential terrorist target. She said, I'll run it for you. Don't you worry. Don't you worry about nothing. She told the Channel 4 documentary, the president got on the phone and he said, I'm coming back. I said, you cannot come back here. The United States of America is under attack. You have to go to safety. We don't know what is going on here. He said, I'm coming back. I said, you can't. I said to him in a raised voice, and I had never raised my voice to the president before. I said, you cannot come back here. And I hung up. The president was quite annoyed with me, to say the least. I've known the president a long time, and I knew that he wanted nothing more than to be there at the helm of the ship. I want to feel the nukes. I want to feel them. I want to feel the heat. Rice threatened that... Rice revealed that the bunker beneath the White House where she was sheltering with Dick Cheney began to run out of air. There were so many people in the bunker that the oxygen levels started dropping, and the Secret Service came in and said we'd got to get some people out of here. They literally went around telling people that they weren't essential and they had to leave. Government communication systems were failing and Bush had to resort to an unsecured line to talk to Washington. Rice said, oh no. Despite all the sophisticated hierarchy, sophisticated command and control equipment that we had, at that moment much of it didn't function very well, and people instead did whatever they could do to communicate messages, and frankly, we then had to make it up. You had to make it up? I think back on the number of cell phones that probably used to communicate the most sensitive information because somebody was driving in, or somebody could get our landline. And I think how really dangerous that was, because if the terrorists were monitoring our communications, they would have heard a lot on cell phones. Bush gave the order authorizing the Air Force to shoot down any commercial airline that was not responding. When United 93 came down, Rice and other officials believed it may have been shot out of the sky. Yes, United Lima. Everyone in that room thinks that perhaps it's been shot down. I got on the phone with somebody at the National Military Command Center, just saying, you must know whether or not you've shot down a commercial airline or not. That was just a horrible thought, that the American Air Force would have shot down innocent civilians. That was a horrible thought! As I've reflected now on what the passengers and crew of Flight 93 did, first of all there's a sense of personal gratitude that they may well have saved my life. Me, personally. I also think of what they did for the country, because had another plane hit the White House or the Capitol, I just don't think we had much more capacity to absorb greater shock than we already had. She stopped talking now. Thank goodness for that. Interesting article, but I hate it in that voice. Ooh. You got vicar jailed over sham marriages, and CCTV released of dead MI6 man. So there might be a video for that one. It'll just be I think it'll just be silent, and it's got a bloody advert in front of it as well. I can't just like quickly test these out now. There's always stick adverts in them. Ooh. Okay, Independent. New landslip buries 100 rescue workers in Guatemala. A massive landslide buried up to 100 people who were trying to dig out a bus caught in deep mud, killing at least 22 people with dozens more feared dead as torrential rains battered Guatemala. Emergency workers recovered 22 bodies from the landslide on a major highway northwest of the capital, and they warned it could take 2 days to dig out all the victims. A wall of earth fell on a bus, and around 100 local people organised themselves to dig out the victims, said Fire Department spokesman Sergio Vasquez. Then another landslide came along and buried them. The workers suspended rescue operations at the site after heavy rain struck the region again, sending people fleeing from the rain-saturated hillsides. In a separate incident, 12 people were killed on Saturday when a bus was buried in a landslide. 6 more people were killed in other incidents on Saturday, raising the weekend death toll to at least 40. It's a national tragedy, President Alvaro Colom told a news conference, adding that nearly 12,000 people had been evacuated to emergency shelters. It's painful that poor people are paying the price of natural disasters. Photographs of the bus wrecked on Chase showed its roof was crushed by a huge pile of earth and rock that almost completely covered the vehicle. More than 30 separate landslides cut the Inter-American Highway, one of Guatemala's main roads, within a single 30-mile stretch, local media reported. Emergency services officials warned further rain was expected on Sunday and Monday. Colom appealed to people to stay off the nation's highways due to the threat of further landslides, and said rescue efforts would be suspended if more rain fell in the affected areas. More than 150 people died in Guatemala in May when Tropical Storm Agatha drenched Central America, triggering landslides. Agatha. Wasn't that one that is sort of like underground, like bases of legendary time sort of thing? There was Agatha and I forget for the moment. It was it was somewhere or other. It was like one of those secret supposed underground bases. It was like full of reptilians and stuff. You know, according to like the myth makers. I'll remember it eventually. Record amounts of rain have fallen in parts of Guatemala and southeastern Mexico this year. Thousands of people in the Mexican Gulf of Mexico state of Tabasco have been forced from their homes by flooding. Water levels behind some dams in the region have risen so high that floodgates have been opened. Okay. Boy takes pipe bomb to school. That's in Northern Ireland. Okay. A boy found a pipe bomb lying in his primary school playground in Northern Ireland today. Brendan Shannon, 8, then walked into St. Comgall's Primary in Antrim and handed it over to one of the teachers. Explosive experts were called in after the school's 400 pupils was told to stay away from the building. Brendan's mother, Siobhan Shannon, a nurse, said later, "The people who left that device probably had kids of their own. Have they no conscience?" The P5 boy and his twin sister, Ciara, had arrived early on their bicycles to help deliver milk to classrooms when he noticed the device lying on top of a painted line close to the playground wall. He said, "I didn't know what it was. It was like a pipe with a screw and some wires hanging out of it. Somebody told me afterwards it was a pipe bomb." Brendan gave the device to one of the teachers, Mary Hannigan, around the same... I know what it is, that name in the other place. It's Agatha and Shangri-La. There you go. Shangri-La, Shangri-La. Around the same time there was a telephone warning of another device at the second primary school in the town St. Joseph's. The St. Comgall's pupils were first taken to a nearby church hall before being sent home. Police said the people responsible for the alerts were cowardly criminals. Mrs. Shannon, a mother of 3, said she was disgusted. She added, "Brendan didn't know what to think when he picked up the device. It was a gold colour pipe with screw and wires inside. He thought it was alright and gave it to the teacher. It was only then that he realised that it was serious. It was a viable device, and can you imagine what might have happened had he dropped it? He's lucky he's still around to tell a tale. He doesn't bear me thinking about what could have happened, but an innocent youngster who learned into disgrace." The majority of the children are Catholic, but pupils belonging to other religious denominations, including Protestant, attend the school on the town's Ballymena Road, not far from Antrim Police Station. Mr. Shannon said, "Brendan is enjoying being the centre of attention, but he doesn't realise the danger he was in. It's a despicable act. Why would anyone want to do that? It's ridiculous. The people who left that device probably have kids of their own. Have they no conscience? What must they be thinking? They must have no conscience." School principal Hilary Cush said he was outraged. He said, "It's absolutely crazy. It's unbelievable that innocent children should be caught up in something like this." Chief Inspector Simon Walls, police area commander for the district, said, To target the general public is never acceptable by any means, but to take away the secure feelings of innocent children and put them at risk like this is beyond despicable. It is by sheer good fortune that we are not dealing with a severely injured child right now. The police who carry out these senseless acts show a total... The people who carry out these senseless acts show a total disregard for their fellow man and are not part of society within which the majority of people in Northern Ireland wish to live. Huh. So many articles in the Independent. I'm trying to go to a different website. MOD names 2 kills UK soldiers as Ministry of Defence. So it's 2 UK soldiers being killed. Big deal. London Underground workers begin 24-hour strike. It's first in series of first 24-hour strikes. It's going to scrap. It says they are unhappy about plans to scrap 800 jobs in ticket offices and say security could be at risk. Minor delays due to the strikes have been reported on the District, Bakerloo and Central Lines. BBC London's transport correspondent Tom Edwards said the level of service would depend on how many people turned up for work and how many managers there were available to replace them. Comparing it to the last strike, which involved one union and was overpay, when there was severe disruption, this time there was 2 unions, so I think we can expect a skeleton service at best, he said. The Mail Maritime and Transport RMT and the Transport Salaried Staff Association unions are fighting plans to cut certificates after strike for levels, claiming security could be compromised for passengers. In a separate dispute, up to 200 Jubilee and Northern Line maintenance staff employed by Alstom Metro began a separate 24-hour strike at 1900 BST on Sunday after rejecting an insulting sub-inflation pay offer. The RMP has said it expects the impact of the strikes to be massive. The spokesman for the union said, "You can't run a railway without 10,000 workers. The level of service will depend on how many managers you can get to stand in, but there are safety implications of doing this." So yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's usually strikes and stuff, but you know, it's can be convenient timing with all these people that disappearing. It's good for a lot of not security, if you know what I mean. And then afterwards to say, oh yeah, it was due to the strikes, we didn't see them, we couldn't find those bombs that they planted, you know, because the strikes, yeah, were too thinly spread, and that's why we had to shut off all the CCTV cameras as well. Just not fully staffed. It's not our fault. Passengers have been warned to expect disruption from late afternoon on Monday and for most of Tuesday. A Transport for London spokesman said he expects to be able to provide a 50% service on some lines, 25% on others, but he cannot say which and would be reviewing the situation hour by hour. He said, realistically, people will experience difficulties this evening after peak going home time and tomorrow. People have been advised to find an alternative way of travelling with an extra 100 buses and 10,000 more passenger journeys on Thames, with services being laid on. I'm not particularly interested in reading out a massive article on 2 British soldiers who got killed. It's only 2 people. It's an interesting thing, I'm not sure what that is. Okay, I'll just read it as it is. It says ETA too weak to attack, says Spain. Ministers rule out immediate talks with Basque separatist group, saying it is regrouping after arrest of senior workers. Oh, bloody adverts. This got the photo looks interesting anyways. They've got like masks on. So I was going to have that played as a thingy, but if we get anybody to do that. It might be rubbish though. No, it's all in Spanish, isn't it? It picks it up though. Spain's socialist government today ruled out negotiations with the armed Basque separatist group ETA, claiming the organisation had announced a ceasefire purely because it was too weak to carry out terrorist attacks. ETA kills in order to impose itself, so that means one cannot dialogue, said the Interior Minister Alfredo Perez Rubalcaba. ETA has stopped because it cannot do anything, and also in order to rebuild itself. The government declined to comment officially, but was busily repeating the message that it did not believe in ETA ceasefire. The ETA terrorist group is very weakened, said the Transport Minister Jose Blanco. The government was only interested, he said, in a definitive laying down of arms and end to violence. The momentary excitement caused by yesterday's video message from ETA had almost entirely dissipated today, although some radical separatists in the Basque country welcomed what they called a unilateral, unconditional and indefinite ceasefire. Analysts gave little credence to the idea that the ceasefire might mark the end of 4 decades of violence that have claimed more than 800 lives. They said the group had been forced to stop planning attacks 6 months ago after a series of arrests left it needless and disorganized. The statement aims to give political meaning to a strategic arrest decreed by ETA's leaders 6 months ago in order to reorganize internally to cope with police pressure, wrote Florencio Dominguez, an ETA expert in La Vanguardia newspaper. Dominguez, that's it. Dominguez pointed to the arrest in February of Ibon Goitia. Yes. Goitia, a senior ETA commander, as the key moment. The arrest was hailed as the 5th time in 2 years that police detained the person directly in charge of ETA's handful of remaining armed units. At the same time, police had prevented new units from being formed in several parts of Spain and discovered ETA's latest bomb-making laboratory and had dismantled its new bases in Portugal, to where ETA had to remove its support infrastructure that historically had been based in France. The killing in March of a French police officer who discovered members of the gang trying to steal cars at the showroom near Paris was the result of a panicked attempt to escape arrest and came despite this decision to stop carrying out attacks, according to Rogelio Alonso of Madrid's Rey Juan Carlos University. ETA is selling smoke, he said. Even during their ceasefires, they continue to kill. The immediate result of that killing in any case had been to increase the intensity of French police pressure on the group. Observers saw the ceasefire statement read out by a masked woman as a response to pressure from former leaders of the banned Batasuna party, who had been urging ETA to call a permanent ceasefire so that the party can be legalized once more. But the announcement fell short of meeting the demands of the Batasuna leaders, with ETA failing to indicate whether its ceasefire was permanent or temporary. A group of spokesmen for the radical Basque separatist movement that is close to ETA nevertheless hailed the ceasefire as a valuable contribution to the construction of peace and the consolidation of the democratic process. Attempts by radical separatists to guide the ETA towards abandoning violence were being sabotaged by the government, columnist Ramon Sola claimed in the Basque language newspaper Gara. The announcement that there will be no attacks provides a secure zone where the socialist government can resolve an armed conflict that has outlasted 2 different regimes and dozens of governments, he said, referring to the dictatorship of General Francisco Franco and the democratic governments elected after his death in 1975. Well, it's time. I think that's the end of it, isn't it? Are we doing another hour or something? So,
Can you hear me?
yeah.
Oh, it's crackling again. Flippin' heck.
Yeah. So I'm not sure I could do. No, I mean, I can do like another 10 minutes or something. I don't know about another hour. If there's other stuff he can play or something. I need to get some food and some drink or something anyway. Throat's dry. Dying.
Well, I can carry on with my crackling thing. How bad is it?
Um,
How about this is crackling?
you got a bit of like feedback. You can try it. You can try it. Have you got some articles you want to read or something? Whatever.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I just want to know how far this crackling is going. Unless I have to send my son out to get me a new microphone thing.
It sounds alright at the moment. It sounds alright at the moment. You've got bass.
Yeah, because I'm holding it together. Anyway, you do your 10 minutes and see what I can come up with.
Okay. I'll post you a link to an article I was going to read out. Well, I might have read out.
Okay.
I'll just like check them first. Try to. Yeah.
Okay.
In a bit.
All right.
Oh, Maggot, you gone? Okay. Now let me take over. I'm sorry if it's all crackling. Becca, can you see if you can type me a message saying you can hear me? Okay. Anyway, I'm just going to carry on. 21 years of ex-head teacher jailed for child abuse. Hold on, I'm just checking. Becca, I didn't say laugh. I said tell me if it's working or not. A former boarding school headmaster or head who sexually and physically abused boys, pupils between the late 1970s and early 1980s was today given a 20-year jail term. Oxford education Derek Slade, 61 of Burton-on-Trent, Staffordshire, was convicted of more than 50 offences, including possession pornography images of children on a computer. Dirty old man. Judge Peter Fenn recommended that Slade should serve at least 14 years before being released on parole and pay $30,000 towards prosecution costs. He said Slade's victims had lost days of childhood innocence, been left with feelings of inadequacy, blame, and worthlessness, and become men whose lives were seriously damaged. Oh boy, I can relate to that story because my husband was one of them here in Ontario. A jury found Slade guilty of sexually assaulting and beating 12 boys aged between 8 and 13 between 1978 and 1983 following a 4-week trial at Ipswich Crown Court. Jurors heard that Slade runs St. George's Private School, which was initially based on Wicklewood, Norfolk, then moved to Great Fitzroy, Suffolk in 1980. I can hear a buckle. Oh dear. Hold on. I need to... Okay, I'm sorry if this is all getting really, really bad. So, boys had also been, as prosecutor said, Slade met and brutally beaten. Beatings had hit the boys with slippers, table tennis bats, and his bare hands. Ordered youngsters to write about whacking, fed and given kickings to the boys who upset him. Boys had also been used as waiters as for private dinners chosen by Slade and his guests, jurors were told. In the court heard that most pupils were the sons of servicemen and women, and pupils numbers rose from about 20 in 1978 when Slade and colleagues opened the school to 350 in 1983 when Slade left. Slade was arrested after former pupils complained 2 years ago. One victim said he had never told his parents what had happened. Another described Slade's assault as sheer terror. Several victims were in court for the sentence hearing. Some wept and one applauded as Slade was led away. One victim said afterwards that the sentence was good enough. Slade admitted indecently assaulting and child pornography offenses. He denied other allegations of assault, indecent assaults, but was found guilty after a month of long trial. Oh, I hate reading these stories. I really do. He also admitted being a pedophile. Oh, okay. So he doesn't want to take, any blame for anything else, but he does admit to being a pedophile. Okay. And told jurors that there was a sexual motive behind the cruel punishment he inflicted. But he denied more serious sexual assaults, including prosecuting allegation that he hosted midnight feast after the boys would be abused. Well, I don't believe a word what he just said there. The court heard that St. George had been in the spotlight in 1982 when the BBC Radio 4 Checkpoint program reported on this harsh regime. School inspectors had investigated, made some criticism, but not substanced any BBC allegations. While Slade may have committed these offenses 30 years ago, for the victims, their pain remains very real, said Detective Inspector Adrian Randall, who led the inquiry after the hearing. I cannot begin to imagine how difficult it must have been for these men to come forward and try to make sense of what has happened to them decades ago as a defenseless young boys. Detective Inspector Randall says around a dozen officers had worked on this inquiry for about 18 months, although he said he could not put a figure on the cost. Sources say after the hearing, the investigation work continued and the chapter was not closed yet. Wow, I'm totally amazed about this. Because on a personal level on this story, I mean, this has got nothing to do with what went on in Ontario, but nobody in Ontario was ever convicted of any sexual assault on the boys at Brookside and Coburg, where my husband actually was. And most of you know the story. Like, my husband has suffered total psychological abuse and physical abuse and rape and all this and that. And like you all know, he's still missing. He's now gone missing 8 weeks, and I have not heard or seen him. So he could be even dead because, I called the police. The police doesn't want to put any missing person on him anymore, which I find very, very strange. And and his mail is coming here, quite important mail he really needs. Otherwise, his bank account has not been touched. He's just vanished from the face of the earth. So I'm quite surprised that, I don't know. What else can I say? What's going on here in Canada? I'm going to do the Canadian news for a change. I'm just going to link over to see what. Oh no, I still got Maggot's independent news here. See what I can. Hope chose rap song as soundtrack for his UK visit. Okay. Okay, see what this is all about. I hope you can hear me, guys, because my microphone, I broke my microphone yesterday, so. Is known to favor the Latin Mass with all its ancient trimmings. But when it comes to find a song that will appeal to the young worshippers, the Pope has opted for rap. The committee oversees Rob Benedict's in Britain next week announced today that they have chosen a hip-hop track for the official youth anthem for this 3-day visit. Hearts Cry by Catholic trio Oberfuss is a world away from the type of soaring hymnalism, usually associated with the Catholic service. Wow. I wonder what this is all about. I'm going to try to have to Google this one and see what I can come up with, because this is going to be quite interesting to find out what the Pope is going to dance to, since we all know what the Pope is all about. Actually, he's Austrian, coming from near Pope I live, so I come from Germany, so see what he's rapping about.
I'm back.
Okay, I can't find anything, so this is how blonde I am today.
I'm back now.
Back?
I'm here. Yes, just about.
Oh, good. I was just, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
I was just talking about the Pope and his new rap song.
Oh yeah. Cool. Do you like it?
I haven't come across it yet, so. Anyway, stop munching, Maggot.
I'm
What are you
hungry.
eating?
I don't know what you call it. I call it.
Maggot?
I call it. Yeah. I call it a mess. It's like iceberg lettuce and mixed with what fish is it? Salmon, pink salmon, all mixed
Oh,
together.
okay.
Yeah, with like French dressing, and
Sounds lovely.
this works all right actually. And I got
Sounds
like
absolutely lovely, darling.
yeah, absolutely lovely, darling. Yeah, some French vinaigrette and like sea salt and crushed black peppercorns.
Wow. Okay then, Muncher. You're gonna carry on or what?
Yeah, I suppose.
So have you heard this rap song
No, I haven't.
from Pope?
No, it's
No,
not him
I'm
singing.
trying to
That'd
find
be
it.
funny. And smack you in the face. You are a big disgrace. I crash you under my heel, you maggot. Song about me. He's got to do it. He's got to do it. I almost got
Would be
Leo
interesting to
Gozami.
find out though.
Yeah, I really wanted to get Leo Zagami like more into like truth movement. He just comes up with these crazy talks and stuff. But I wanted him to like get personally insulted by the stuff I say and stuff, and he'd say, "I crash you, maggot! I crash you under my heel! I detest you, maggot!" I got some pot noodles as well at the same time. I'm trying to like open the sauce sachet on it.
Oh no,
Yeah,
pot noodles. Come on now.
they're good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably like
Modified engineered food.
yeah, probably to like counteract the the salad, isn't it?
Yeah.
These ones are actually cheap
I'm trying to
enough.
find this song, this rap song.
Ugh. Brown sauce looks like poo. So I just managed to find the
We're
sachet.
supposed to be doing this. We're supposed to be doing this seriously now.
No,
So.
this is the most exciting part. It's, okay, I found something. Iran on brink of nuclear war. Iran's
Alright, then you-
watchdog. Yeah, because Iran's got that.
Oh, not again.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's surprising, isn't it? Okay.
Well, they're not going to do it because if they're going to attack them, it's going to all blow all over the place. So.
Yeah. Iran has passed a crucial nuclear threshold. Weapons inspectors have warned, and could now go on to arm an atomic missile with relative ease. 1 second. Takes it right, actually. For some reason, it's got the honourable on the bottom of this picture of behind Hillary Clinton in the background. A report by the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, say Iranian nuclear scientists have made at least 22 kilograms of enriched uranium, at least 20% purity, a technical hurdle that is the hardest to overcome on the way to weapons-grade uranium. Experts estimate that 20 kilos of uranium is the minimum required to arm a warhead. The uranium would still need to have its purity raised to 90%, but that is a relatively easy process. The agency's report came in spite of the recent imposition of the United Nations of a fresh round of sanctions against Iran, and will heighten fears of an Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear plants. The prospect of an attack had receded only recently, with American assurances that Tehran was more than a year away from acquiring a bomb. The Vienna-based nuclear watchdog said Tehran had managed its absolute defiance of international pressure to curb its program despite the imposition of harsh sanctions in May. The IAEA has grown increasingly alarmed at Iran's behaviour, and the latest report, which will be presented to the agency's governors at a meeting next week, lambasted Tehran on a series of fronts. The country's refusal to answer questions on its attempts to make a nuclear warhead that could be fitted onto its most advanced missiles was denounced as a violation of sanctions. The agency also rebuked the regime for its repeated failure to cooperate with nuclear inspections designed to ensure that materials held securely at Iranian plants. Iran barred 2 weapon inspectors from the country in June after they reported undeclared nuclear activity by scientists. It has also systematically objected to other scientists on spurious grounds. The agency is concerned that the repeated objection to the designation of experienced inspectors hampers the inspection process and detracts from the agency's ability to implement safeguards in Iran. The report said the acquisition of uranium will cause the most alarm, however. Until February, the Iranians were enriching uranium to levels of no more than 5% at its plants in Natanz. The government-funded Verification Research Training and Information Center, an expert body with privileged access to the IAEA, has estimated that a weapons expert could make a nuclear device from 20 kilos of 20% enriched material with relatively few further obstacles. The IAEA, under Yukiya Amano, its new Japanese Director General, has taken a much tougher line with Iran's obstruction of international inspections. But the agency's reports demonstrate that while the Iranian economy has suffered from sanctions, the nuclear program has not been impeded. Iran's stockpile of low-enriched uranium, the feedstock of both civilian and military nuclear programs, has risen by around 15% since May to reach 2.8 tons. However, the number of centrifuges that refine uranium to high levels of purity has fallen from 3,772 to 3,772 from 3,936. Sort of a repetition of headlines I'm reading through at the moment. Ones I've already read out. Mining companies clash over Congo copper mine. I've got First Quantum writes to UK authorities over ENRC's acquisition of Kolwezi copper mine. A row between 2 mining companies over a multi-million-pound copper mine in the Democratic Republic of the Congo has escalated after one of the firms wrote to the UK regulator alleging that its shareholders have been misled over the affair. First Quantum, a Canadian company whose copper mine has been seized by DRC government, has written to the UK regulator. It alleges that ENRC, the FTSE 100 listed rival, which now owns a large stake in the mine, misled investors over the acquisition. The Guardian has seen a letter written last month by First Quantum to the UK listing authority, part of the FSA, shortly after ENRC announced the deal. The letter alleges that ENRC broke stock exchange disclosure rules by not detailing to shareholders the illegal action against the DRC government by First Quantum to try to win back the mine. A spokeswoman for the FSA declined tonight to say whether it was investigating. ENRC said that the international arbitration process over the dispute was already in the public domain and that it had carried out full disclosure before announcing the deal. It added, "The licence was withdrawn by the DRC in August 2009 and the Court of Appeal has confirmed withdrawal was lawful. Any dispute the First Quantum has is with the appropriate authorities in the DRC." Last month, ENRC paid $175 million for mining assets in the DRC, including a majority stake in the Kolwezi mine. The revelation will also bring further pressure to bear on ENRC. The Guardian has also learned that First Quantum will launch its own legal action this week against its rival, probably in the British Virgin Islands. It will seek to secure damages of about $2.5 billion. The estimated value of the lost assets and money spent developing the Kolwezi mine. ENRC bought the stake in the disputed assets via a holding company incorporated there by Dan Gurtier, an Israeli mining entrepreneur with strong links to the Kinshasa government. ENRC has a stellar cast of city grandees as non-executive directors, including Sir Richard Sykes, formerly chairman of GlaxoSmithKline, who is the deputy chairman. First Quantum is already pursuing the matter in the International Court of Arbitration in Paris. The DRC last month seized First Quantum's other Operation Frontier, the largest copper mine in the country. The DRC government claims that it removed the licenses because First Quantum refused to renegotiate the terms of the contracts, alleging unreasonable behaviour. In 3 years of negotiations, in an increasingly bitter row, the government also alleges unspecified misconduct by First Quantum executives. First Quantum President Clive Newell said, "They are making weightless governance accusations against the management. We'd be delighted to have an independent review. It's extraordinary that ENRC's all executives will put their names to this." I did say I could manage about 20 minutes. Did do an estimate on it. I can't think of anything else amazing to cover. I think we covered all the main ones.
I just checked out this Oberfust rap group.
Okay.
Right? And they're not even popular anywhere. They just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they're releasing their single on the 12th of September, but there's nothing else you can find about them. Their website looks like it's just been done about 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So, and there's no other music, so that must be their first single coming out.
That is weird.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because I'm German and I never heard of them.
Mm.
You know, and I know he's Austrian, but I mean the website is totally crap, and there's only one song that's coming out.
What does Optifuse mean in German?
And that, the way they described it,
Yeah.
or on that website,
Yeah.
which I now lost. It explains it. Hold on, I'm gonna get it back. So you have to keep on talking. Hold on.
Okay. The Pope must die. Yes, I think that's the moral of the story. Got no notation music. No, it is all a bit strange. Just out of nowhere, putting out crap music. Maybe it just does crap taste in music. 21 years, Rex head teacher jailed for child abuse. A former boarding school head who sexually and physically abused boy pupils during the late 1970s and early 1980s was today given a 21-year jail term. Oxford-educated Derek Slade, 61, of Burton-on-Trent, Staffordshire, was convicted of more than 50 offences, including possessing pornographic images of children on a computer. Judge Peter Fenn recommended that Slade should serve at least 14 years before being released on payroll and pay £30,000 towards prosecution costs. He said Slade's victims had lost days of childhood innocence, been left with feelings of inadequacy, blame and worthlessness, and become men whose lives were seriously damaged. A jury found Slade guilty of sexually assaulting and beating 12 boys aged between 8 and 13 between 1978 and 1983, following a 4-week trial at Ipswich Crown Court. Jurors heard that Slade ran St George's Private School, which is initially based in Wicklewood, Norfolk, then moved to Great Fimborough, Suffolk in 1980. Prosecutors said Slade meted out brutal beatings. He had hit boys with a slipper, a table tennis bat, and his bare hand. Orders youngsters to write about whackings I have had, and given kickings to boys who upset him. Boys had also been used as waiters at private dinners, then chosen by Slade and his guests, jurors were told. The court heard that most pupils were the sons of servicemen and and women, and pupil numbers rose from about 20 in 1978 when Slade and colleagues opened the school to 350 in 1983 when Slade left. Slade was arrested after former pupils complained 2 years ago. One victim said he had never told his parents what had happened. Another described Slade's assaults as reigns of terror. Several victims were in court for the sentencing hearing. Some wept and one applauded as Slade was led away. Never liked that band, he said. One victim said afterwards that the sentence was good enough. Slade admitted assault, indecent assault and child pornography offences. He denied other allegations of assault and indecent assault, but was found guilty after a month-long trial. He also admitted to being a paedophile and told jurors that there was a sexual motive behind the corporal punishment he inflicted. But he denied more serious sexual assaults, including prosecution allegations that he hosted midnight feasts after which boys would be abused. The court heard that St George's had been in the spotlight in 1982 when the BBC Radio 4 Checkpoint programme reported on its harsh regime. School inspectors had investigated, made some criticisms, but not substantiated the BBC's allegations. While Slade may have committed those offences 30 years ago, for the victims their pain remains very real, said Detective Inspector Adrian Randall, who led the inquiry after the hearing. I cannot begin to imagine how difficult it must be for these men to come forward and try to make sense of what happened to them decades ago as defenceless young boys. Detective Inspector Randall said around a dozen officers had worked on the inquiry for about 18 months, although he said he could not put a figure on the cost. Useful. Sources said after the hearing that investigations were continuing and the chapter was not closed. I'm just reading the chat room. Yes. What, does Rupert want to do like a little talky thing before he does his interview thing? Oh, that's fine. I don't mind.
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you Oberfuß, right?
Oberfels, yeah.
Really means. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
After this,
You're getting bad echo. I know it's really embarrassing when it happens. Yeah. Everything's copying what I'm saying.
Oberfuß, they say, comes from the German word über.
Yeah.
Translated is over, above, and super. Of the term über from Germany into English goes back to the word German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche.
Yeah.
Nietzsche.
Yeah, Nietzsche.
Yeah. What is also
Nietzsche,
Übermensch.
Yeah.
To describe the higher state to which he felt men might aspire to.
So it's like a pun on the Uberman. Pun on Superman.
Right. Okay, but Oberfuß really means that totally translated it wrong.
Yeah.
It means over the foot. Fuß is foot.
Yeah.
And over is über.
It means being given the boot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the artistic translation of it. Yeah, over the foot, like a football.
But that.
Being kicked,
Yeah,
or
but
getting a kicking.
So the thing is, this group never existed before. There's no other song out.
Yeah.
And they're making them out to be so popular in Germany, nobody has ever heard of them before.
That is so strange.
So, anyway, that's my input. Carry on. Young Rupert, I nearly said. Young Maggot.
Yeah. I suspect stuff's going to happen. I suspect it's going to be more than like tea and scones is going to have with the Queen. Well, not in that sense. Ugh, that's disgusting at their age. No, but yeah, it's all open to speculation, but it's all a bit Masonic at the moment, isn't it? It's all like there's something going on, but you know there's something else going on. This sanctification, or whatever it is, of John Henry Newman. It's all a bit suspicious. Have to wait and see. Kim Jong-il set to anoint younger son at North Korea Party Congress. Kim Jong-un is expected to be named next leader. His actual name is King Jong-un. King Jong-un. You know, oh, that's like in northern England. I've got a young'un, and they also say I think they say the rest of England as well. He's a young one, you know, a young child. So Kim Jong-un is expected to be named next year as Pyongyang hosts first party summit in 30 years. Members of North Korea's ruling party were gathering in Pyongyang for a rare meeting that could see the country's leader, Kim Jong-il, name his younger son as his successor. Although the exact date of the Congress, the first of the Korean Workers' Party for 30 years, had yet to be announced, reports in South Korea said troops had moved into the capital, apparently in preparation for a parade to mark the event. In recent days, North Korean school children have taken to the streets to sing Footsteps, a song many believe was written for Chris's third son, Kim Jong-un, who is tipped to become the next Prime Minister. I'm trying to find it. Tipped to become the third member of the dynasty to rule the communist state. That's it. In addition, thousands of people waving plastic flowers spent the weekend rehearsing for a parade, according to China's Xinhua news agency. The city is reportedly decked out in posters announcing the meeting. Let's make this a festive event that will shine in the history of our country and people, read one seen in footage from AP television news. The Rodong Simnon, the party's newspaper, said delegates from across the country were poised to approve key policies and personnel changes at the heart of the regime's leadership. The meeting coincides with the 62nd anniversary on 9th September of North Korea's founding by Jong-un's grandfather Kim Il-sung. In a typically colourful commentary, the Rodong Simnon said, "The people's hearts awaiting the revolutionary and festive occasion heat up joy to their joy and happiness." Speculation that Kim Jong-un will eventually succeed Kim Jong-il has intensified since his 68-year-old father suffered a stroke 2 years ago. Kim Chan Kyong, an assistant professor at the North Korean Academy of Social Science, said the conference signalled a turning point for the regime. "I think it will serve as an important occasion amid our efforts to build a powerful socialist nation at a time when there's historic demand for a new turning point," he told APTN. The international community will use what information it can glean from reports of the secretive meetings to piece together an idea of how North Korea might behave under a new leader. "I'm aware of the news reports, but all I can say is that we are collecting information from various fronts and rushing to analyze it," Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshito Sengoku told reporters in Tokyo. "Japan's biggest interest lies in whether the meeting produces a regime that could help pave the way for breaking a stalemate in the six-party talks on North Korea's nuclear program." The meeting is the first party congress since 1980, when Kim Jong-il was confirmed as Kim Il-sung's successor, although he did not become leader until his father's death in 1994. It comes at a time of rising tensions in the region. Relations with Seoul quickly deteriorated after international inspectors said a North Korean torpedo had sunk the Cheonan, a South Korean naval ship, in March, while Pyongyang has indicated it's willing to return to nuclear talks with conditions. The US, Japan and South Korea say they will only consider reopening negotiations if the regime apologises for the Cheonan sinking. North Korea denies involvement in the incident, in which 46 sailors died. Little is known about Kim Jong-un. He is thought to be aged 27 or 28 and was educated at the prestigious International School of Bern in Switzerland. A widely circulated but unconfirmed photograph of him appears to have been taken when he was in his teens. Kim Jong-il's recent visit to China is being seen as part of efforts to win support for the power switch from North Korea's only ally and biggest aid donor. There has been a confirmation of rumours that Kim Jong-un accompanies his father on the trip. Reports from the south say the country's fearsome propaganda machine has already begun building a cult of personality around Kim Jong-un, including his release of poems and songs extolling his virtues as a leader. His ascent to the Workers' Party hierarchy is thought to have begun last year, when he was reportedly rubber-stamped as a member of parliament. North Korea experts It almost sounds like Korea when I say it. North Korea experts believe Kim Jong-il will place his son in a key party post, giving him a base from which to emulate his father's rise through the ranks of the country's military and political elites. While little progress has been made in resolving the Cheonan incident or restarting nuclear talks, North Korea has made what it called humanitarian gestures that analysts say are intended to improve its international standing. Last month, it released Usman. It says Usman. Oh, and US man, I suppose it means a US man, who had entered the country illegally following an intervention by the former US President Jimmy Carter. Today, it said it would release 7 members of a South Korean fishing vessel, including 3 Chinese who apparently strayed into North Korean waters in early August. The state-run Korean Central News Agency said the fishermen would be sent back to South Korea after they admitted the seriousness of their act and gave assurances that they would never repeat it. That's the end of that article. Still sitting there eating. I lifted up the headset.
Yeah, here, more about overboost. Yeah, I'm really getting pissed off about this now. I'm only the second to visit the website.
Yeah. Post links to the site.
And
if you crackle up too much, I'll have to jump in where I can't hear you.
okay, and another thing is that song, the truck bears surpassing resemblance to Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, the band I hate above all others.
I've got to go.
Not much, but no, I don't like them much at all. You got to go? You got to go?
No, I'm going off because it's truckling.
Post the link to
Okay.
what are you reading?
Are you going to carry on reading? You only got like 20 minutes.
I know.
Munching and reading.
Yeah, I know. Okay, it always picks up like me munching. It's really annoying. I got Sarah Palin exposed, spending $3,000 of campaign funds on underwear. A mean tipper. Vanity Fair dishes the dirt. It's the Guardian article. And wait for the links to turn up. The October issue of Vanity Fair has just published an explosive profile of Sarah Palin. We'll pick the highlights. She's managed to spend $3,000 on underwear. The number and range of items purchased for the entire Palin family, more than 400 in total, is mind-boggling. For Sarah, the campaign bought roughly $3,000, £1,940 worth of underwear, including many Spanx girdles. Spanx girdles. You're so subtle. Angels protect her! Oh no, it's another Lenny Bruce. God, they're almost as mad as Lenny Bruce. Oh, that's very mad indeed. Probably evil as well. When Palin thanks prayer warriors for keeping her covered, she is thanking them for calling on angels to shield her from demonic attacks. She is a bad tipper and a bad stripper. Of the many famous people who have stayed at the Hyatt in Wichita, Cher, Rebecca McIntyre, Neil Young, Palin ranks as the all-time worst tipper. $5 for 7 bags and 7 fags. Her Facebook and Twitter feeds may be ghostwritten. Oh no! Often it sounds like Palin herself, sounds less like Palin herself than someone else's fantasy version of Palin, her most theatrical. On one occasion, Palin's virtual voice contradicting remarks she made in a TV interview 2 days later. She now says she wants to meet the Iron Lady, but back in 2008, when John McCain's aides discovers that Alaska-sized gaps existed in Palin's general knowledge. Amongst those previously unreported, she had no idea who Maggotaur was. They, from time to time, would give her some books to read in hopes of improving the candidate's learning curve. She doesn't hunt. This whole hunter thing for Sarah, that is the biggest fallacy, said one long-time friend of the family. That woman has never hunted. The picture of her with the caribou she says she shot, she got out of the RV to post the picture. Their friend goes on to recall that when Greta Van Susteren came to the house to interview Palin, Sarah Palin cooked moose, chili, and whatnot. Todd was calling everyone he knew the day before. "Do you got any moose?" Desperate. Her reply, in response to the VF article, Palin said, "Those are impotent and limp and gutless, and they go on their anonymous sources that are anonymous, and impotent, limp and gutless reporters take anonymous sources and cite them as being factual references." Just as well she was able to add that clarification. Sounds like she's talking about somebody's willy. Yeah, she's like talking about her sex life, I think. Maybe her husband. Okay, so you've got the links. Uberfoos. It's a super confusing name for a band. Arts Cry singled out on 12th of September. Yeah, day after the next terror attack. Yeah, I know Hal St. John was just, oh, come on. Hal St. John, Sherry Blair, and Jerry Cornelius are in the band. It's funny because like the feedback is like picking up all these, like, not making them. Not all of them.
Yeah, can you go and have a look in your chat room? There's a link. You should play at 5 o'clock, please. Thank you.
Oh, you've got links all over the place. Okay. Is this the okay. Well, I can't do that. Rev can do that. I think unless it's an MP3 and I can save it.
Rev is not home.
Well, if I do play it, it'd be as loud as this. Can you even hear that?
I can't hear anything.
Ah, wait a minute. I could do it, I'm saving it as an MP3 now.
Thank you, Maggot, you doll.
That's alright. Yes. I am amazing.
You are.
It's fantastic! Like a spastic in plastic. I just checked this new oil rig explosion isn't the same as old new oil rig explosion that I currently report on. No, I know there's two of them, but there might be more than two now.
Oh, really?
Well, they got rid of the second one quite quickly, didn't they? But then I read that there was a 9-mile oil slick, so it can't be that quickly. No, it's September the 3rd. So I think it's the old one. Just the second one. I should keep better track of the amount of explosions going on. Just say whether it's the first or second. Okay, it's finished downloading. How long's the song? About 5 minutes or something?
No, it's not a song. It's like a thingy. A video or something.
Oh, but it saved it, but it didn't save the length. Oh yeah. I think I could save it as a MP3 though. There was an option to save it as an MP3. Strange. Yeah, it says an MP3 file. It's like 4.7 megabytes. Left to right 7, but it's like a duration of 0 seconds. I don't know. Play this one instead. Oh, we're back. I know we got informed radios back, so you can play this into the music. I was looking for some headlines. It's funny, it takes ages for the feedback to die out. Okay, I've got Israeli police accused of targeting Jerusalem's Arab residents. A leading civil rights group has accused Israeli police of systematic discrimination against the Arab residents of East Jerusalem as growing numbers of hardline religious Jews take up residence in Palestinian areas. A report from the Association for Civil Rights in Israel, ACRI, found that violent confrontations between Jewish residents and their Palestinian neighbours had risen rapidly, but that Israeli police have largely ignored Palestinian complaints. Israeli authorities practice selective law enforcement and fail to provide even the most minimal protection to Palestinian locals. ACRI claimed law enforcement authorities have become complicit in violating Palestinian rights. In many cases, they do not enforce the law or do so only in a discriminatory manner. Palestinians claim that they are often arrested as suspects when they make complaints against Israelis, that their children are arrested in circumstances that flout Israeli law on the treatment of minors, and that widespread surveillance cameras violate their privacy. The Israeli police rejected the allegations. A spokesman claimed that many of the incidents contained in the report were blown out of proportion. Most disturbances, he said, are initiated by Palestinians throwing stones at Jewish residents. Throw stones! Large numbers of religious Jews, ideologically committed to an undivided Jerusalem, have moved into Arab-dominated East Jerusalem in recent months, provoking clashes with local residents. Palestinians fear that Israel is seeking to prevent East Jerusalem, illegally annexed by Israel after the Six-Day War in 1967, from becoming the capital of a future Palestinian state. Stoking the tensions, according to ACRI, are the armed private security contractors employed to protect the Jewish residents in East Jerusalem. Ahmad Karain, a Palestinian resident of Silwan, described how he was shot in the thigh during an argument with an off-duty officer visiting Jewish settlers. Mr. Quayle was questioned as a suspect, and the man who shot him was released after 24 hours without charge. In the second case, Jamalat Mughrabi, who was evicted from her home by Jewish settlers, claims she was punched repeatedly by a Jewish man. When she arrived at the police station, she found that she was a suspect and was taken into custody. At a hearing the following day, the investigators allegedly refused to show video footage proving her innocence, and she was charged and fined. Ron Itzler, a spokesman for Akri, said it had yet to receive an official police response. He said, "We are just calling on the police to do their job." Meanwhile, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said yesterday a new and creative approach was required to reach a peace deal. "We will have to learn the lessons of 17 years of experience from negotiations and to think creatively," he said. He said Mr. Netanyahu, I don't know what that means. I think Mr. Netanyahu said, "We'll have to think of new solutions to old problems."
Okay, Maggot.
I'm reading the chat room,
That is a
doesn't make
bit
sense.
worried. Okay. Can you play it through Skype?
Play what? I need
His link.
his link. I've got like 12
It's-
distinct chat rooms going on at the same time.
Okay. Okay,
Oh,
hang
I
on.
got it, I got
I
it.
sent you the...
I got it. Yeah, I tried it before and it was too quiet. So I tried downloading the song.
Okay, so you can't do it.
No, I tried before. And it's like a blank file or something. I'll try again. Okay, it worked this time.
Just mute and play.
No, it worked this time.
Unmute.
No, I've got a program for running it. But it didn't download it correctly last time. It didn't download it correctly this time. What's wrong? It's just not liking the MP3 format, obviously. There's a thing called Skype Player that's supposed to work. Strange. It must be something to do with the YouTube-y-ness of it. No, I keep clicking on it and it'll play in Winamp, but that's no good. I can't get it to play through the mic on Winamp. Sam's Broadcaster, great. Yeah, it's the first time I've ever heard of it. Da 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 da. Wah 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 wah. US soldiers video prank on Iraqi motorist. Hurrah. By planting a live grenade in his car. Ooh, that's funny. Now that the American mission in Iraq is officially over, some videos showing US soldiers pranking Iraqis and vice versa for fun have come to light. The below video is uploaded onto YouTube by a US soldier and shows troops holding a live grenade in Iraqi's car before finding it, and after the popular MTV show Punk'd pranking him, the Iraqis have a similar reality show, Put Him in Camp Booker, where fake bombs are planted in celebrities' cars, only for them to be found, and the stars tricked into thinking they will be jailed for terrorism. It's got a caption for a still shot for the video footage. My partner has planted a grenade in this guy's trunk. The man who uploaded his video where a live grenade was used was Sergeant Leo Dunson. The description that runs next to the video reads, "This is my partner and I working at a traffic control point in Iraq. We decided to scare one of the locals a bit by placing a grenade in his trunk while he wasn't looking. This was all in fun and never in any intent to harm anyone." And in an interview with War News Radio, Dunson explained why he posted the video. He said, "I got the one video of us playing MTV Punk'd. When we were over there, we were playing all sorts of jokes here and there, having fun. I didn't want people to think that we were just over there and that we hated all of them. Only last week did President Barack Obama end the US combat mission in Iraq, declaring no victory after 7 years of bloodshed, and tell Americans and the world it is time to turn the page. Yeah, forget about it. Forget about it. Not 7 years, whatever. He said the United States has paid a huge price to give Iraqis the chance to shape their future. The toll includes more than 4,400 US troops dead, and many more Iraqis, tens of thousands more Americans wounded, and hundreds of billions of dollars spent. Obama is keeping up to 50,000 troops in Iraq for support and counter-terrorism training, and the last forces are not due to leave until the end of 2011 at the latest. Yeah, hilarious soldiers. Soldiers of comedy. No, I read that one. I've got London subway workers strike to disrupt travellers in the city, but I already read that one. Something similar. Oh,
We've
Obama.
got 3 minutes left. So.
Yeah, I know. I told you I could do more than an hour. Obama seeks $50 billion to fix roads, runways and job creation plan. President Barack Obama has proposed spending at least $50 billion to rehabilitate the nation's transportation infrastructure to help spur an economy that's lost jobs for 3 straight months. At a Labor Day rally in Milwaukee 2 months before midterm congressional elections, Obama called for a 6-year program to fix roads, railways and runways and to modernise the air traffic control system. The funds would be included in a transportation authorization bill that's stalled in Congress. Obama called for an infrastructure bank and requested money to rebuild 150,000 miles, 241,400 kilometres of roads, constructs and maintain 4,000 miles of rail and overhaul 150 miles of runways. Elections on November the 2nd, deciding every US House seat and about a third of the Senate are focus on unemployment near 10% and a budget deficit swelled by the government's financial system bailout. All of this will not only create jobs now, but will make our economy run better over the long haul, Obama said. It's a plan that history tells us Canada should attract bisexual support. Bipartisan, whatever. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky said today in a statement that the latest plan for another stimulus should be met with justifiable skepticism. And Americans are rightly skeptical about Washington Democrats asking for more money. More money! The Obama administration will work with Congress to ensure the plan is fully funded and a significant portion, he's turned English now, of the new investments will be front-loaded in the first year, the White House said in a statement. Yeah, the House has got a mouth and it talks. Deficits. In his speech, Obama said his proposed public works spending will not add to the deficit over time. The program will focus on long-term modernization of transportation systems and create jobs starting in 2011, an administration official said today. The White House will propose to pay for the new spending by eliminating tax deductions for oil and gas companies. The official said Republican economists questioned whether rushing out more money to rebuild roads and other such spending was the best way to help the economy rebound. Blah. It's about the end now. The House Appropriations Committee's Transportation Panel in July rejected Obama's request for $4 billion to create an infrastructure bank to finance new projects. So you've got nobody here, so nobody's played up the song. Never mind. Ha. Have to do that one.